I can do this, and I'm the right person for the job, and there's nothing stopping me other than my own self-doubt.
Yeah.
So how about I give it a go? What's the worst that can happen?
Absolutely.
And I'm often asked by people, or I will say to people who are having self-doubt as well, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
And having been through cancer, actually nothing really is as bad as that.
Yeah.
So give yourself a break, give yourself the opportunity to become a success.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work out, do something else, try something else, because it's not cancer.
So, welcome to the show, Mary. It's lovely to have you here. And I thought we'd start just by, well, giving a bit of context really to how we met and how I came across your amazing and very inspirational story. So I think, was it about 6 weeks ago? I
think it was, yeah.
It was the panel discussion that you
Yes.
were a part of.
Yeah.
And, you know, through that panel discussion, you started to share, like I say, what is an incredible, brave and very inspiring story. And straight away, I could see the parallels between your story and, you know, the kind of stories that I really wanted to showcase here on this podcast that I think will really, really help people. So I wanted to say thank you, first of all. Thank you so much for
It was
agreeing
lovely
to come
meet
on
you
and
on
be on the
that
show.
day as
Thank
well.
you.
So it was one of the first panels that I've done, but really, really enjoyed it and met so many incredible women, yourself included.
Oh,
so
thank you.
No, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. So, I mean, in terms of your story, so you've lived here, just to give a bit more background as well. So you've lived in Dubai for just over 15 years.
Yes.
And you've got 2 very beautiful children. And you've got an incredible career now working in real estate. But you also have a different story to that as well, which you're here to share with us today. So do you want to start to just give us a little bit of background perhaps on that?
So I know this podcast is about identity, and when we first met, I think that resonated with me because just over 3 years ago, I was very much feeling a lack of identity, not really knowing where my life was going, which direction it was going in. I had recently separated from my husband, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, got the diagnosis of breast cancer, which at the time for anybody is devastating. But actually, from the journey that then took me on, it has very much ended up being quite a positive diagnosis for me.
Okay.
Now that may sound strange to some people, particularly anyone that may have recently been diagnosed with breast cancer. But for me personally, I was feeling very lost, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I'd always worked. I was bringing up the kids and having breast cancer treatment. And as soon as I knew that there was treatment available for the breast cancer that I had and that I was going to be okay, I tried to turn it into a positive experience. And it allowed me to then focus on that period of time in my life to get through that period.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that, and then looking back, that in itself then gave me the identity during those difficult times of I'm a breast cancer survivor and I've overcome what is, separation, house move, cancer, you name it. That was my life for, a good year.
Yeah. Let's go, because some of the points you raise here are so interesting. I kind of want to delve into some more about your feelings around identity through some of the stages that you're talking about. So we go back to the beginning that you were talking about, where you'd gone through your separation and you started to feel like you'd lost your sense of identity.
Yes.
I think that this is a situation that unfortunately many people face. So could you share just a little bit more about how you felt you'd lost your identity around that time.
Yes, well, I think growing up, you're ingrained in having to choose who you are, and choosing, almost thinking that you have to choose one identity. And I was also feeling like that as well. So whether you're identifying, I'm a mother, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm an employee, or I'm an employer, all of these different identities. And sometimes you feel that you have to be one of those, and you have to just, be really, really amazing at that one thing.
Yeah.
But that equally then means that actually you then are lacking in other areas, and the other identities, there's less focus on those.
Okay.
So when that happened, it made me realise that actually I don't have to be one identity, and it can be a fluid identity. And by that I mean my identity, I feel, can change, and you can pick and choose and pick and choose who you want to be. You don't have to be stuck in that one place.
Yeah. I think that's it's a really good point you make, because I think that a lot of people think that, you spend time, and you hit the nail on the head, actually. A lot of people will think that, your younger years, it's all about figuring out who you are, and then you figure out who you are, and then you've nailed it, and that's it. And that's, that's it. The end of
100%.
story. You'll be that person for the rest of time. But we obviously know, having gone through different challenges,
Yes.
that isn't the case. And that isn't necessarily a bad thing either, but you evolve and you grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like you said, it's turning challenging situations into positives.
Yeah.
And for me personally, I only learnt that by having to go through these experiences. So prior to these things happening, I would have said, oh yes, I'm a working mum, and that's what I do.
Yeah.
But actually I'm so many more other things, and I think a little bit comes with age as well. I'm now less bothered about noise, about outside noise.
Yeah.
I'm more bothered about what sits right with me.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, as well, just picking up on the fact that you talked about the mum role, which is obviously a very, very important role in life, but you realised that wasn't your only role, essentially. No. So what do you think helped you to realise that? What was your kind of eureka moment, or something similar?
I don't think there was a eureka moment. I mean, I grew up in a household that my mum always worked. She was a school teacher. So she was someone, mum and dad both worked. And so I grew up in an environment where it was normal to work.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you come to Dubai, I came to Dubai when I was 30. So I didn't have kids. I wasn't in a relationship. And so I came to work.
Okay.
And that I've always kind of had that instilled in me, that work ethic. And so when you have children, you want to also instill that work ethic as well, to show them that, things don't come, in order to have this life and to have nice things and to go on holiday, and, you have to work for it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's always been instilled in me. So when I was given my diagnosis and going through treatment, I continued to work because I felt it was important that the kids saw me, and also I retained some sort of normality.
Yeah.
So yes, I was going through this treatment. Yes, I was looking very different to how I usually would have looked. But for me, it helped me to just have a bit of normality.
Yeah.
And being able to work at home or remotely was amazing, because, like I say, you're going through so much, and you're physically, you have so many challenges.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But mentally, just to be able to send a few emails a day, to speak to a couple of people, it just allows that normality to continue.
Yeah. What about, so I'm just thinking about your, because also you talked about the identity piece around your diagnosis. Can you share a bit more about that? So that kind of, because you said that you felt like you then had an identity. Could you tell us about that?
Well, yeah, I think no one ever knows how they're going to react when they're
Yeah.
told they have breast cancer and they have to go now through really intensive treatment in order to recover. And I don't think when I was going through it, I was consciously identifying as this particular person, but looking back, I definitely was.
Okay.
So when I was told my diagnosis, one of my first thoughts was, well, that's fine. I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to get in, get the treatment and get out.
Okay.
I'm not going to become part of this community. I don't want to be part of this club.
Wow.
I am just going to get my head down, get the treatment done, and then that's me out.
Yeah.
Actually, it's been the complete opposite.
Okay.
So again, this is where I talk about the fluidity of being able to change, because you're always learning and it's acceptance that you can change your mind about who you're identifying as.
Yeah.
So throughout my treatment, I always tried to tell my story through my Instagram page, and if it motivated or if it gave somebody hope, if it made somebody smile, so I tried to share the highs and the lows. I tried to have fun. I was so lucky in this country that the healthcare is amazing. And I had the most incredible team of nurses and doctors and surgeons that I'm still very much in touch with. And I've met a group of ladies that are my friends for life that have been through this journey with me as well. So it's not a club that I ever wanted to be part of. And I've said this before, but I am part of it. And I'm so grateful to have been part of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it's knowing that happened and dealing with that on a day-to-day basis when you're going through it.
Yeah.
But then also accepting that it's not going to stop as soon as the physical treatment finishes.
Okay.
Because once you've had something like cancer, and in my experience, my case, breast cancer, you're never not going to be a breast cancer survivor. It's always going to be in your life.
Yeah.
So it's accepting that and finding your own path of how to cope and deal with that.
Yeah. What was the focus for you during that time? So when you've been diagnosed, you'd obviously been going through your treatment. What for you was the key focus?
Getting the job done.
Yeah.
So I'm quite a pragmatic person.
Okay. Yeah.
So I didn't tell my parents straight away. I'm lucky because my brother lives here, and so he was very, very much with me in the early stages.
Okay.
And so was my ex, actually. He was great. And as soon as I knew that my diagnosis was a positive one, as in I just needed to go through this treatment, this amount of chemo, this surgery, this radiotherapy. And so I turned into, okay, fine, let's tick the box. Right, we'll do week by week. Let's just tick everything off the list.
Yeah.
And that's what, that's what my life became.
Yeah.
So I was getting through that, but also equally, I have these two little kids. So Max was 4 at the time.
Yeah.
Till he was 10. And so I also then had to still be mummy to them, and to show them, still pick them up from school, take them to clubs.
Yeah.
So I still had to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just, when you're in it, you just go through it.
Yeah.
One of the things I would say, though, that did change as part of my identity, and I think women in general are not very good at this, is asking for and also accepting help.
Yes.
So
yeah,
I am really lucky that I have some very, very good friends here. Obviously, it's been my home for so long.
Yeah.
And people want to help. People really, really wanted to help me. And it's not something that I'd ever experienced before, of course. And so it's allowing people into your life to make your life easier and to accept it.
Yeah.
And that was a big learning curve for me.
Yeah. Dubai's quite a small knit community,
Yes.
which I think is incredible, and I think that's why people pull together
Yeah.
as well. So it's so lovely to hear that you had that. Do you feel that that helped with your mindset or mental recovery in any way?
I think it definitely did.
Yeah.
Again, probably didn't realise at the time, but it certainly helped me and also my family that couldn't be here to know that I had all of these people, sometimes people that I didn't even know, so people of a wider community. So we're part of the pirate surf community, which they just pulled together and did incredible things for me and the kids. And so and friends who are, you know, not living here, who are abroad, would send me messages saying, "Oh, I've just seen this, and I'm just so happy that you've got those people around you." And so I think actually it was very also comforting to the people, because cancer doesn't just affect you; it has a ripple effect.
Yeah.
So that was really, really special.
Yeah. And like you say, it is incredibly hard for people, if they're overseas, to be able to help in any way, I guess, because, you know, there is that distance between us. It's one of the, you know, many things. There's so many blessings around being an expat, but unfortunately it is one of the more challenging things, definitely, with regards to our position. So, and in terms of the mindset piece as well, because we've spoken off camera as well around, and you've just covered it there as well in terms of how you responded. You're very pragmatic, and you were like, right, okay, this is almost the agenda of what we need to achieve, so let's get on with it. Like, did you feel like, was that your mindset from the outset, or was there, I guess what I'm trying to say was there any other feelings mixed in with that, like, you know, sadness, depression and things like, because honestly, it's a scary diagnosis, and, you know, one I can only begin to imagine would be terrifying. So some of the other feelings that I'm talking about would be completely understandable. So I'm just wondering if there was a blend of that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, I would be lying if I said I wasn't terrified or I wasn't frightened. I was angry. The first thing I said after being told was, "What about my hair?" You know, I was really, really worried about my hair, because we talked off camera about, you know, hair is part of our identity. And so I was really worried and scared. But also I put my faith in the doctors and their knowledge. So there were days that I couldn't lift my head off the pillow. I felt so terrible. I felt so sick with the chemo.
Gosh.
And I documented that on my Instagram, because I didn't want people just to see the funny side of it. I wanted to see the real side, all of the sides.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
you know, my taste buds went. I became a lot bigger because I was having to take steroids as well because of the chemo. So physically and mentally, it was a really big challenge.
Yeah.
But I still remain to say that I still honestly believe, for me personally, it had a positive impact on my life.
Yeah.
It allowed me, as someone that has always doubted themselves and had struggled with self-confidence on the inside, people who see me be like, really? But yeah, I really struggled and still do in little aspects of my life.
Yeah.
But this really made me think, wow, look what I've done. Look what I've achieved. Look how I've achieved it. So look how I've gone through this journey, and actually give myself a pat on the back.
Yeah.
And be like, okay, that was a good job. You know, you did well. And acknowledge if I made mistakes, or, you know, and just be real about it. I think life is so precious and so short. And I think if we don't give ourselves a break sometimes, that we just have to do the best we can. And that is the way that I reacted going through all of that treatment, was just what I knew best. And how I decided to walk that path, and to, you know, listen to people around me, but equally do it on my own as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I remember when you first said that to me again off camera, and you said, I feel like it's a positive thing. And I sort of sat for a moment with that, and I thought, gosh, I can sort of understand why you feel that way. I know that many people would probably be surprised by that terminology, but I can understand it because I think so. I'm a big believer. I said this to you before, that I think that our paths are sort of mapped out for us, and I think that there are these things that are going to happen to us in life, and it really is how we choose to deal with them at the time. But I also think that it's certain things are meant to happen for a reason, and we will overcome certain things because of how we choose to deal with them.
Yes.
But then we can also look back and sort of piece it together and think, okay, I wouldn't necessarily have wanted it to work out quite like that, but there is a reason there that I can identify with that.
Absolutely.
And you just talked about you weren't particularly confident, or you didn't feel like you were particularly confident before. So how has all of that changed for you?
Well, definitely the confidence is much more prevalent and much more there in my day-to-day life.
Okay.
So I talked about confidence, but also the noises, the voices in your head that say, no, you can't do that, or you're not good enough for that, or, oh, no, you shouldn't do that, or you shouldn't go there. I just try to be mindful of those and to try to not let them dictate how I move forward in my life. So Dubai is an incredible city to live, and it's full of excitement and entrepreneurs and opportunities. And I've always very much been a passive person, I guess, in the sense of my work. So as I said, I've always worked and I've always enjoyed the work that I've done. And once I'd finished my journey and my treatment, I kind of had a shift in my mindset. So I wanted to do something that allowed me to work flexibly, because I'm still obviously got the kids and pickup and clubs, but also allows me to work with my strengths and with the knowledge that I have for living in this country for so long. And that's why I came into the realization that actually real estate would be a really super avenue for me to go down.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how I've ended up where I am now.
Okay. And what were the strengths that you could pick out from, evaluating that whole kind of period and think?
So I think it came from people telling me, actually. So I don't think it was me consciously saying, well, this is what I'm now good at.
Yeah.
It came with lots and lots of people saying, well, gosh, you have such a positive attitude, and gosh, so I don't think my fundamental strengths changed.
Okay.
So, and by that I mean, my integrity, my honesty. I've always been that type of person. But when you then add in, having the self-confidence, having the knowledge of who you are and also the market that you're working in, I think people telling me, well, actually, these strengths are very, very transferable and could be a strength in this industry. And so I think it came from not only my own self-awareness, but also people telling me, you're really good at this. You can do this.
Yeah.
You're a good speaker. You're a people person. You understand how in a multicultural environment to talk to different people.
Yeah.
And so why don't you use this and run with it? And that's what I decided to do.
Yeah. And it's incredible that kind of led you to that realization and being placed in these kind of different situations where you were then receiving that level of feedback.
Yeah.
And I think that, so I talk to people a lot about limiting beliefs, and often we don't actually even realize the limiting beliefs that we hold because, for some reason something happened to us in life, or someone said something to us in life, and it kind of registers back here in our subconscious, and then we constantly tell ourselves that. So we continue to affirm that throughout our lives, and we don't realize that we're doing it until suddenly it's broken because it's disproven by the fact that there is actually a fact rather than a belief that stands in that way. So do you feel like some of this happened to you through your diagnosis and through some of these conversations that you were having with people, that you were able to break down potential beliefs that you had held about yourself previously?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest one is self-belief.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, I was bullied at a very, very early age in primary school.
Okay.
Really severely bullied, and for the first 2 or 3 years of my senior school life. And as a 46-year-old woman, I can say that that bullying has affected me my whole life, for my self-confidence. And so definitely it shaped me in my belief system and how I've lived my life.
Yeah.
So I think definitely changing that turning it on its side to say, well, actually, I can do this, and I am the right person for the job, and there's nothing stopping me other than my own self-doubt.
Yeah.
So how about I give it a go? What's the worst that can happen?
Absolutely.
And I'm often asked by people, or I will say to people who are having self-doubt as well, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
And having been through cancer, actually nothing really is as bad as that.
Yeah.
So give yourself a break, give yourself the opportunity to become a success.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work out, do something else, try something else, because it's not cancer.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Nothing is as bad as cancer.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So,
Yeah.
and I think I probably couldn't have done this job had I not been through what I have, because it puts things into perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the real estate industry in Dubai has an awful reputation, and it really does. And so for me, I generally work with people who know me, and friends or friends of friends or colleagues, the people that I've worked with in the past.
Yeah.
Because people get stung a lot, unfortunately. There are some really, really amazing brokers, but there are some pretty rubbish ones as well. And so that's another reason why I thought, I can do this, because people know me, and I love the journey of going on this, sourcing and looking and trying to find homes for people, because I know that I can do it.
Yeah. I was going to say something like that as well. It always presents an opportunity, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because it means that actually there's more room for you to stand out and shine as a really good real estate agent. And
I hope so.
You took your skills and you know how you can apply them to make sure that you can do exactly that.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that is really, and I want to touch on this, is because I think it's very inspiring, is how you want to be that role model for your children as well. And you talked about your career, and I know that also, like, when you were unwell, it obviously gave you a sense of sort of detaching from that and then feeling like you were going into normality. You said about going into your emails and that kind of thing. So there was probably a little bit of maybe an escapism or something like that. But at the same time, it was underpinned by the fact that you wanted to demonstrate to your children that, this is what it's like to hold down a career and to earn a living and all of that kind of stuff as well. So how does that come into, I guess, how you educate your children around that?
So I think it's just showing them that mummy can be more than one thing. Mummy is always mummy, will always be mummy, but mummy also has different identities. So mummy is also working, and mummy also needs time for herself. Yeah. And also showing them that it's okay from a feelings perspective, because I can sometimes also be told that, I can be a bit robotic in a sense of I won't always show my emotions.
Okay.
And so one of the biggest things for me to teach my children is that it's okay to be sad, it's okay to be frustrated, it's okay to feel angry, but it's acknowledging those feelings, working through those feelings, and then moving on.
Yes.
And that's something that I didn't learn until very later on in life. And it's that's a real light bulb moment, is to kind of acknowledge those feelings. And there's so much out there now, you know, on social media and on the internet that, you know, that we can learn. We don't have, we can't be ignorant anymore with these types of things. There's so much material out there to help us.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely not perfect in any way, but what I would say is that I am learning all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to take on board, you know, new topics and new subjects that will help me to either become a better mum to my kids, to try and teach them, or to be a better person to myself.
Yeah. And that's so, it's, like, I just think back to our generation.
Yeah.
We grew up and we weren't taught any of these things whatsoever,
No.
really. It was kind of, you know, I don't know if that's a bit of being British as well. It's probably our generation and being British.
Yeah.
You were taught this, not stiff upper lip, I think that's going a bit to the extreme, but, you know, it's kind of like pull your socks up and get on with it. It was that kind of thing, you know.
There were definitely no conversations in my house growing up about feelings.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And just, you know, no, there was definitely none of that. But yeah, and I think you know, generations before, you know, it's
Yeah.
and luckily now, you know, we have so much information on our fingertips that that yeah, I think it makes for a very interesting journey.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And talk to us about the community side of things as well, because you mentioned it earlier. So obviously you said that you were almost opposed to feeling part of the community, and now you're very much part of that community. So tell us a bit more about that as well.
So when I was going through treatment, a lovely lady called Lamia came to see me one day and said that she herself was a survivor, and she was working with the Al Jalila Foundation, and they were opening up what's called the Majlis Al-Amal. Al-Amal. She'll tell me off for that because I always get it wrong. And it basically means the Lounge of Hope. Hope Lounge. And it's the most incredible centre that has been opened and is at the Al Jalila Foundation head office in Healthcare City. And it's a place to go if you've been affected by cancer. So it allows you to go and cry. It allows you to go and laugh. They host so many programs. They ranging from painting to yoga to beauty tips to sound healing sessions, and everything is free of charge to the Majlis Al-Amal members. And it's just the most incredible support network. And from that network itself, I have basically become such good friends with 6 or 7, you know, incredible women. Yeah. And we're almost daily in touch with each other. Some of us are finished our treatment now. Others are still going. Others have different diagnoses. But it's just been such a pillar of strength, and the Majlis is just an incredible place, and Lamia is kind of at the helm of that, and she does an amazing job there. So I would really say anybody that you don't even have to you don't have to be suffering from cancer yourself. You can be a family member, because like I said before, it has such a ripple effect. Yeah. And often people don't know how to help. Yeah. They feel a bit lost, you know, if it's their mother or if it's their sister. Yeah. You know, that they'll come to the Majlis and say, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. And there will always be someone there that can help or just listen and offer advice. Yeah. It's a wonderful place.
Oh, that's so lovely.
Yeah. It's great.
Oh, well, look, thank you so much for sharing your story, Mary, because, you know, I really mean this from the bottom of my heart when I heard your story, and there's so much strength and courage in your story. And that's why I just thought bringing you onto the podcast to share that with others can only be a message of inspiration, can be a message of hope to anybody who's going through something similar. So I guess my next question to you would be, if there's anyone that's tuned in and they are unfortunately, you know, going through something, whether it's a cancer diagnosis or something that's life-threatening, or maybe they even know a friend or a relative who's going through something, what would you share with them today?
I mean, if they wanted to reach out to me, I am more than happy. So my Instagram is Mary in the UAE. Okay. That's my personal, and my work Instagram is Mary_luxury property.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm really happy. I've connected people. I also think of myself as quite a good connector of people. So, you know, it may be that the diagnosis is different to mine, but I'm really more than happy to help connect people with others if I see that they can help as well.
Fantastic, yeah. And I guess my next question, my final question is going to be as well from a real estate perspective.
Yeah.
So, and I guess so anyone can connect with you on your Instagram pages with regards to real estate if they're looking for some help.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And any if they have any questions about property, it doesn't just have to be if they're looking or if they're, you know, if they have any questions. You know, the real estate market is changing all the time.
Yeah.
But certainly in Dubai, it is booming. You know, Dubai has created itself as such an incredible place to live.
Yeah.
And we only have to look around what's happening in the rest of the world which makes Dubai a very, very amazing, incredible place to live.
Yeah.
So if anyone has any questions, the company I work for is Black Brick Property.
Okay.
So they can find me on there.
Great. And I will add all of your links on this show as well in the description.
You,
Thank you so much, Mary.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you.